Hello everyone, Rico here with another video. Today I wanted to talk about nightblades and how they're dying out and losing their identity. Now, Saw said this whole thing about class identity and wanted classes to feel unique, but some of their identities are being stolen, especially nightblades. They did say they're going to work on DKs, Stamsorks, and Wardens first, so I hope they're working on the other classes as well, eventually, in a nearby future. When I first started playing the game, I realized that most classes had access to certain moves, and if they didn't have a certain move, they had access to a nerfed down version of their class abilities, of others' class abilities. So, for example, Templars, they have the best purge in the game, but anyone can run a purge. They can slot efficient purge, for example. It's not as effective, but at least everyone has access to it. Same thing when it comes to Wardens. Now they have a purge, and Necromancers, they also have a purge, yet Templar still is the best one. Now Sauce just made DKs have the best dot in the game, and I think this is a good approach. You have a standard for everything, and that's what they should have done. Just have a standard for everything, but then not just make a standard. You have to go to each individual class and separate it somehow, right? So they go either above or below the standard, as they did with DKs. So they have a dot standard, and then DKs are the superior dot class. And they have Necromancers, which appear to be the second one, since they also got a buff. So you have DKs followed by Necromancers, and then everyone else at base, and I think that's fine. Yeah, but Nightblades are just falling short, and also there's also disparity between Magicka users and Stamina users. Now, when the game first started out, people just had Magicka, really, and they started to implement more Stamina, and that's fine. But I feel as it's still a little bit Magicka heavy, at least from what I see. Maybe PlayStation, NA, it's kind of been the case. I've now seen a decline on Stamina Nightblades, and it's just kind of how the game is going now. Everything is the same. They're just homogenizing everything, and well, that from everything. Let's get into the Stamina Nightblade and how he's losing his identity. Going a little bit of an identity crisis, and why he's dying out. And to start off, I'm gonna go with the first move, Aspect of Terror, and Turn Evil. So there's two things going on here. Aspect of Terror is a magic ability that has a 6 meter radius. And Turn Evil has a 5 meter radius. That is the only way that Aspect of Terror is superior. It has that 1 meter extra range. And there's also an animation thing. The animation is a little bit better versus Turn Evil. If you see, when I started walking there, it cast the sigil a little bit behind me. So I activate here, and by the time I hit my fist at the ground, it was on this tile, but I activated on this tile, so it put the sigil here. But that's about it. Now, how is this a better fear? Well, I mean, the class ability is supposed to be better. No? Do we have maim? We have no maim, no snare, no nothing. We can stun up to 3 enemies. And if we actually take the morphs, well, this one you can put 2 traps, which is nice, instead of 1, and it takes 2 seconds to arm. Now, this is good for a tactical game style, which it's fun, and it has its place. And this is a bit more direct, kind of get off me thing. And they buffed it a little bit. Now, instead of 2, it's up to 6 enemies. That's fine. This is 12 enemies. this has double the cap, and it also has certain passes with it. I have minor protection and minor endurance by standing within it, for me and all my allies. Fear, nothing. It's just a fear, no auxiliary effects. So this is really setting up this fear as a superior, and I know a few people who run Nightblades that they actually opt for this one instead, because they also get, you know, more damage. It's supposed to be the burst class, so this is a shadow ability, and what they get is dark vigor. Alright, so they get a little max health for each, which is nice, but 3% health versus 3% weapon damage. Yeah, a lot of people go for the 3% weapon damage as well on the passives, especially because they're trying to be the burst class and deal that extra damage. Next ability is actually Executioner. Going back to Executioner, if you see, it's 453 versus 453. 453 magic damage versus 453 physical. They pretty much the same move, but this one is already superior. Why? Well, they have the same range and everything, but the difference is that this starts working under 25% health, and this starts to get its bonus under 50% health. This is massive. That's huge. Like, it makes it much more reliable. So uppercut, reverse slash, especially when it gets morphed into Executioner, it does 400% damage at 50. 400. And this does freaking stays at 25. What do we get when we morph? Well, this one, it becomes the stamina, whoop-de-doo. But I heal. That's what it does. If I kill someone, well, if they die within 2 seconds after I hit them with a killer's blade, I heal. Great. That's awesome for an assassination skill line. Now, if I go to 2H, Executioner, it just becomes stronger. It's much more effective at doing what it wants to do, right? Executioner. It wants to execute, it wants to kill. It makes it stronger. Here, instead of making it stronger, I get a heal. And it wouldn't be so bad, but then again, look at when it starts to get its bonus at 25%, which is a lot less reliable, versus 50%. This already makes Executioner a more effective Executioner. And you have a killer's blade that isn't as effective as Executioner. So that's already, you know, it makes this move better than the class ability. Moving on. Now, one of the things that Nightblades still kind of have, and I think it's only a matter of time before, you know, they lose this too, is Cloak. So right now, okay, Nightblades, they have Cloak. They become invisible for 3 seconds. And if anybody else wants to become invisible for a few seconds, they need to use invisibility pots, which is fine. They last a lot longer, but if you get out of hiding or invisibility, now you have that huge cooldown. You have that massive cooldown before you can use it again, versus Nightblades, they can use it. So it's great. It's an awesome move. But I feel that we might lose it soon to Camo Hunter, because as the name implies, being all camouflage and whatnot, it makes sense for them to eventually probably make this another cloak, in which they'll probably take away either the weapon critical or the berserk and make it so you cloak when you use it. And they'll probably make the other morph what this morph is. They'll probably give them the minor berserk to the other morph. But I feel like this is going to be the new cloak, further losing its identity. And never mind that, we also have Relentless Focus. relentless focus, from focus, it's also, I understand there's certain tiers to certain things, right? Like, okay, DK's got their dots, they're number one, and Necromancer's got the second dot by the looks of it. I don't know yet, but they did buff Necromancers as well. So if you have a first place using something, and then you have a second place, well, fine. I'm okay with Stamsorks having it. I think that's a great idea for them to use it as well. But just by having it slotted, they get 5% more light attack bonus damage, and I think their max stamina goes up as well. I don't remember, but we get nothing. It's slotted, we get nothing. We activate it, we get nothing. We have to wait until we start light attacking to get something back, and it's just damage mitigation. And it really isn't that great. Unless you're tanked, which is good, whatever. We want it for the burst though. We want it for that burst attack at the end. And yeah, when you shoot, you heal. That's great. It's more effective for PvE, but not for PvP. The battle spirit mode. Let's say, for example, we have this going on, and let's say it's 20k tooltip. In PvP, that's half, so that's 10k. Then you heal for 33% of that, which is 3.4. But your healing is also half, so instead of 3.4, it's 1.7k. So you heal for 1.7k, and you don't always heal for 1.7k. You have to be within 7 meters. So if they move back by a pixel, you don't get that miserable heal at all. And yeah, tanks, they'll just use the stacks and keep it on, hold on to it. They don't have to use it again, because as long as you're in combat, you stay with the stack. But when it comes to the damage part of this, you don't get nothing, and I think it really has to be reworked. One of the solutions that I propose as well, to make at least Nightblades a bit more interesting again, is to change the way that certain skills work. We have skills such as Soul Trap. I just bring it up here real quick. It's a Magicka ability. It costs Magicka. However, it scales with your your highest offensive stat, but it also changes the type of damage it does. So it does magic damage or physical damage, and that's huge. That makes a big difference. Because okay, let's say me, for example, I have a Nightblade. I'm using this ultimate, Soul Harvest. Why? Because they gutted the stamina version. For some reason, Sauce thought that applying Major Defile on with a Mag Blade is not so bad, but yes, with a Nightblade. So I still have Major Defile, right? Now you're saying, well, it's not a big issue. You can just use Soul Harvest if NCAP is so bad. Well, yes and no. I still use Soul Harvest, but remember, it does magic damage. If they were to change this, in which it says it deals magic or physical or disease, it would have been a little bit better. Why? Because as a stamina user, I'm not as effective at dealing magical damage. Again, I'll show what I mean. So you have something like light armor, right? You have concentration. So you increase your spell penetration. And set, maybe I'm running Sprigans. So I'm built for physical penetration, not Magicka. Alright, so if you're a Magicka build, you have things like spell penetration from your 5-piece, and you probably have ancient knowledge in the flame staff, so you increase your damage again by 8%. So you become obviously more effective at dealing magic damage if you are a magic build, versus trying to deal magic damage with a stamina build. Even though the tooltip scales off your highest offensive stat, you're still not as effective delivering set type of damage. So that's the one other thing I want to point out. I think if they went the Soul Trap approach, in which it deals magic or physical, depending, it would have been great. And yeah, I mean, silence is crap. Incap is no longer good because of silence. And yeah, it's the same exact move for the beginning, right? Like this whole paragraph right here, it's the same thing, except that you deal disease damage. Same tooltip, same buff for 20% more damage against them for 6 seconds. But then after this, instead of major defile, you get freaking silence, and you have to pay more. You have to pay another 50 ulti. So it's just not really worth it, in my opinion. So yeah, it's just, for some reason they felt like the file was too OP, but they still kept it on the magical build. So I don't know why the double standard there. In my opinion, if in order to fix it and give them a little bit more identity, they should really focus on what the class, does right per line. So for example, assassination is supposed to be for the DPS, focus on DPS. I'm not saying that you can't have anything else in it, but the majority of the skills here should be focused on dealing damage. The whole damage mitigation and stuff like that, well, you have other places you can put it, right? Like Shadow, which is more of the tanky part of it, and Siphoning, which is the healer. So have assassination focus on DPS, have this focus on tanking, and have this focus on healing. It doesn't mean that you can't have a heal move in here somewhat, and it doesn't mean that you can't have a DPS move here, etc., right? But they should rework most of the abilities, at least 3 out of the 5, to fit what they're supposed to do. So here in Shadow, fine, I like this. You have 2 morphs. You have a more tanky morph, no longer grants invisibility, but it heals you based on your max health, it grants minor protection, it lasts longer, etc. Right, and then you have this one if you just want to do more damage cloak and use it regularly. Same thing here. You have a heal version for more synergy. You have a AoE damage, which I think is lackluster, but it is what it is. Right? Then you have these utilities. I think that's fine. And then you have one DPS move here, which works as well. Exactly, it's just one DPS move. And then of course an AoE move here with a morph. Same thing here, it's just these are utilities. So that works alright. And siphoning, this is all catered mainly to mag blades. You have Strife, again the type of damage matters, but it's not just that. These deal magic damage and they don't scale to stamina. They're only scaled to magic damage. So it makes it hard for a stamina. This is something that can, potentially give more identity to stam blades. If I could use it as a stamina blade, like it just becomes a nightblade ability, in which siphoning is a thing, and I don't have that, at least as a stamina nightblade. And it's a really decent skill. I think funnel health should probably go up to 6 targets instead of 2. And it could really become a good heal move. I think it should be more about healing than the damage, just so it can be used as a, for a healer. It could be a very nice skill for a healer. And this one, to keep it more or less as is, it does more damage, it heals a little bit less, and only targets yourself. This is good for a DPS. And I wish I could use this. It's just not, it doesn't scale off Magicka. It doesn't scale off stamina. Same thing with Cripple. This move is a nice dot, and it snares, and you get some recovery with Magic Steel. Crippling Grasp, of course, is the go-to. I don't see why at least these over here couldn't be 2 different ones. One could have been a stamina one could have been at least a Magicka one, and they do different things but similar. Like this is an inferior version to Fossilize. It would petrify or fossilize. It would stun you, and then after the stun, you get immobilized. This one doesn't stun; it just takes it down a notch. It's just immobilized and then snare. So it's like a little step down, and I like that. I like that DK still have that other move, which is a little bit better, and this one is just different. This one just immobilizes and snares, but you deal damage over time instead, and it does an initial hit and a dot afterwards. So this is great, but again, I can't use it, so it's limiting my toolkit. Alright, this is one of the only few that it is Magicka and Stamina, and they just do the same thing. Just one of them is for Magicka, the other one's for Stamina. Drain Power is a huge one. They're changing this, from what I've seen. They're going to change it to reduce their weapon and spell damage. One of the reasons I don't run this is because, yeah, it's an AoE. It's a decent AoE at 8 meters. But yeah, if I'm fighting a Magicka user, it's again very specific. It's like Silence. I'm only hitting them for weapon damage. What if they don't use weapon damage? So supposedly they're gonna fix that. They're gonna make it weapon and spell. So yeah, so then it becomes usable, so that you can use it against all enemy types. Again, it would be nice if I had like another utility. So I think this would be a good utility for a tank. It will help It will help distinguish Nightblade tanks. And yeah, this could probably buff the entire team. You inflict maybe minor maim, or it just has this unique debuff, which is fine, so it can stack with minor maim. So it reduces their weapon and spell damage by 200, and give your team, your allies, maybe minor brutality. It doesn't have to be major, maybe minor brutality for a few seconds, you know. And they can give this to a tank, and then Sap Essence, they can make him more of less of a damage, but they can, you know, and they could keep this being a heal. Probably rework it so it could be a slightly better heal, maybe at less damage, you know. So then your so healers could use this a bit. It could be a bit more unique way to play healer Nightblades. Well, that's just my thoughts on, you know, why I think the Stamina Nightblades are dying out, and some of my ideas in order to make them maybe revive a little bit, make them a little bit more unique. But I would love to hear you guys' opinion, and if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, you know, comment below what you think and what your idea is for making Nightblades a bit more unique. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video.